sunburned, covered with scratches. I could hardly get out of bed in the morning. But although I griped with Clemson and Eduardo, I was secretly glad to take my place beside them, to work as if I had no choice. Eduardo's car broke down toward the end of the week, and Clemson started driving him and Miguel to and from the decrepit motel where they lived with other seasonal workers. Sometimes, pulling up to their door, we'd all just sit there, saying nothing. We were that tired. Then, one night, Eduardo asked us in for a drink. Clemson, being a good boy, tried to beg off, but I got out with Miguel and Eduardo, knowing he wouldn't leave me. "Come on, Clem," I said. "Don't be a homo." He looked at me, then turned the engine off. That room, Jesus. The brothers had done their best, making their beds, keeping their clothes neatly folded in open suitcases, but you got swamped by the smell of mildew the moment you stepped inside. The floor was mushy underfoot, and shedding squares of drab linoleum. The ceiling bowed and stained. The overhead light didn't quite reach the corners. Behind the mildew was another unsettling smell. Clemson was a fastidious guy and writhed in distress as I made a show of being right at home. We poured rye into our empty stomachs and listened to Eduardo, and before long we were all drunk. Someone came to the door and spoke to him in Spanish, and Eduardo went outside and didn't come back. Miguel and I kept drinking. Clemson was half asleep, his chin declining slowly toward his chest and snapping up again. Then Miguel looked at me. He slitted his eyes and looked at me hard, without blinking, and began to protest an injustice done him by our boss, or maybe another boss. I could barely understand his English, and he kept breaking into Spanish, which I didn't understand at all. But he was angry. I understood that much. At some point, he went across the room and came back and put a pistol on the table, right in front of him, a revolver. Long barrel, most of the bluing worn off. Miguel stared at me over the pistol and resumed his complaint entirely in Spanish. He was looking at me, but I knew he was seeing someone else. I had rarely heard him speak before. Now the words poured out in an aggrieved sing-song, and I saw that his own voice was lashing him on somehow, the very sound of his indignation proving that he had been wrong, feeding his rage, making him hate whoever he thought I was. I was too afraid to speak. All I could do was smile. That room. Once you enter it, you never really leave. You can forget you're there. You can go on as if you hold the reins, that the course of your life, yea, even its length, will reflect the force of your character and the wisdom of your judgments. And then you hit an icy patch on a turn one sunny March day, and the wheel in your hands becomes a joke, and you no more than a spectator to your own dreamy slide toward the verge, and then you remember where you are. Or you board a bus with 30 other young men. It's early just before dawn. That's when the buses always leave, their lights dimmed, to avoid the attention of the Quakers outside the gate. But it doesn't work, and they're waiting, silently holding up their signs, looking at you, not with reproach, but with sadness and sympathy, as the bus drives past them and on to the airport and the plane that will take you where you would not go. And at this moment, you know exactly what your desires count for, and your plans, and all your strength of body and will. Then you know where you are, as you will know where you are when those you love die before their time, the time you had planned for them, for yourself with them, and when your daily allowance of words and dreams is withheld from you, and when your daughter drives the car straight into a tree, and if she walks away without a scratch, you still feel that dark ceiling close overhead and know where you are. And what can you do but what you did back in this awful room with Miguel hating you for nothing and a pistol ready to hand? Smile and hope for a change of subject. It came this time. Clemson bolted up from his chair, bent forward, and puked all over the table. Miguel stopped talking. He stared at Clemson as if he'd never seen him before, and when Clemson began retching again, Miguel jumped up and grabbed him by the shirt and pushed him toward the door. I took